What's something unbelievable that you did, but no one was around to witness it? Before we start with the first story, please hit a subscribe and ring the notification bell to stay updated with us. Number 10. Was stacking cartons of eggs, 12 in a pack, at my retail job when one carton fell off the shelf. Stuck my foot out. It landed on it, balanced perfectly, no eggs broken. Not a single person in the aisle. Thanks, mate. I remember standing there, foot in the air, looking around for any witness. Not a soul. Still makes me smile, though, to this day. Number 9. In the 4th grade, I had a pencil in my back pocket. It was sticking up several inches above the pocket, and my shirt was somehow tucked behind it. I stood up from my desk, and the pencil had gotten caught on the back of my chair. It flipped out of my pants, broken in half, and both halves landed in the trash can. Another pencil story. My friend threw a pencil at the ceiling fan in the classroom, and it smashed the fan, went flying, and landed perfectly in a girl's hair bun like some kind of fancy hairpin. Not as cool, but it's the best I've got. And also everyone saw and went wild. Number 8. Not something I did, more just something that happened. When I was little, I fell out of bed, but my sheets were tangled in such a way that they caught me like a hammock on the side of my bed. That happened to me. I don't remember why, but my dad was sleeping in my twin bed with me. I probably had a nightmare, and I remembered yelling, "Dad, help!" But he just kept snoring. Number 7. Imagine, I'm home alone. We have a weird closet that is about 30 feet long and about 5 feet wide, one side nothing but shelves and clothing. I'm maybe 8 years old. I have a foot-long novelty baseball bat from Louisville Slugger. I hear a fly. It's in the closet. I'm in the doorway, so it only has one way out. I can barely track with my eyes. I have to use my ears. I swing. I hear the smallest little thwack and then a little sound of something hitting a box in the back of the closet. I found the dead fly on the floor. I absolutely swear this is true. Even at 8, I knew no one would believe me if I told them. Number 6. I was in a packed restaurant on a very busy Saturday night just before Christmas. The restaurant had a couple of pool tables next to the bar. The cue ball was next to a corner pocket. The two ball was next to another corner pocket across the short side of the table. I was half stoned and hit the cue ball with all my might. When the cue ball hits the two ball hits the rail and goes straight up in arcs. The two ball lands in the far corner pocket, down the long side of the table, and the opposite corner from where I was standing. Just absolutely centered the pocket. It had to be a 1 in a million shot. This damn place was packed, not a single empty table or bar stool one. I was so amazed I started looking around for whoever saw that absolute bullshit shot. Not a single person saw it. There were 20 people within 20 feet of me eating at the booths, and nobody saw it. Number 5. My brakes were going out in my camera, so it was basically all or nothing. I had to really stand on them to make them work, but still driving it because I was young and foolish. I was driving home from work on a basic city street, and it had started to ice up. The cars ahead of me were coming to a stop, so I stomped on the brakes to slow down, knowing this was not an ideal situation, and started to slide. I turned to go into a parking lot to my right, and my car slid around 270 degrees perfectly, so I was facing right back out, facing the street like I needed to be to drive back out. I just sat there stunned for a moment and then very slowly and gingerly made my way the couple of blocks home. I'm sure someone saw me, but no one I could say, "Hold crap, did you just see that, too?" Reply: 20 years ago, I used to be a cameraman for hire, and while I was working for this elderly woman, 70 to 80 years old, named Peggy. Peggy had a variety TV show that aired on a local station. Apparently she was famous in our town, but I never heard of her. Anyways, Peggy didn't like to drive, so she'd always asked if I could drive her car to the next shoot. It was a big old boat of a 1990s Cadillac variety. I didn't mind, so I would always wind up driving her around. I noticed her brakes on her car were not great, and I told her many times that she needed them serviced. One day I was driving Peggy, it started to blizzard, and she didn't fix the damn brakes. The car could stop fine if the conditions were perfect, but adding snow surely would be the end of us. She was talking and telling me stories while I was driving this death machine, and we were coming in hot to a 4-way stop. But we weren't stopping. Cars in front of me, cars to the left, cars to the right. I was pumping the brakes the whole time with no change in our velocity. We must have been doing 20 to 30 through that 4-way stop. Me with a look of horror and bewilderment on my face, looking at the other drivers and Peggy just chatting away completely aloof. We sailed through the intersection unscathed, and only myself and the other drivers were aware of our close brush with death. So I guess other people did see it, but oh no, not Peggy. Rest in peace, Peggy. Number 4. Ran out of wiper fluid in a snowstorm during rush hour on a 3-lane freeway. Windshield is smudged by salty snow, and I can't see. Stick my head out the window, and it's a foot from the concrete barrier on the left lane. I turn right and do a full Jesus take the wheel 720-degree spin across 3 lanes of traffic with headlights whipping by me. I ended up on the opposite shoulder facing up an on-ramp to the freeway. I go up the ramp, and there's a gas station right there to wash my windshield. Luckiest I'll ever be. Number 3. Was on a school trip once and we had to take the ferry over the English Channel. The ferry had been canceled, and they stuck us on a cruise liner heading towards the same destination. That seems mad in itself these days, haha. On the liner they had a cinema, watched The Rock with Sean Connery, and an arcade/casino which we weren't allowed to go in, being under the legal gambling age at the time. So I sneak in the arcade and put a pound coin in the video poker machine. A royal flush was 500 first odds. Yeah, I won, and it dropped a ticket that I had to exchange at the cashier for the cash. Somehow, I managed to do it despite being 15 years old. No one believes me to this day. Even then on the boat when I had half a bag in Reedy's. Number 2. I was bored and practicing throwing playing cards in my cousin's room when I was a teenager. My aunt called us to go eat, so my cousin walked out of the room and I walked out to follow her. I had one last card in my hand, so I turned and threw it at nothing in particular. It spiraled beautifully and went perfectly from horizontal to vertical and went right through the gap between my cousin's wooden closet doors 15 feet away. Was probably only in 1/8 of an inch gap. My jaw hit the floor, but when I turned around my cousin was already in the living room. Replied. We were doing something similar in a friend's basement. Throwing cards at random stuff. A buddy threw a card at an old console and it stuck face up wedged between the glass and bottom trim. My buddy flipped out celebrating and said, "That's never going to happen again," and I shot him a look and tossed my card. Landed perfectly right next to his. He got up angrily and asked, "Why can't you just let me do something cool? Someone always has to ruin my day." I still love that guy. Number 1. I used to be a blackjack dealer. I was getting the cards ready to put in the shoe, and I dropped the cut card. It landed on my foot, I kicked it up, and it lands right back on the deck in the middle of the table. 6 degenerate gamblers at my table, and not one was paying any attention. I'm sure surveillance saw it, but I don't know. Ha ha ha, I would imagine at a casino, if security caught that, they'd yank you from the floor. My cousin dealt blackjack at a casino for a long time, and she said that security was tight for everyone, employees and guests. Any sleight of foot is severely frowned upon. Alright folks, that's a wrap for today's stories. If you like more of this, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also share your thoughts in the comment below. See you in the next video.